Here we go.
All right. Sorry, guys, for the delay. Firstly, we were having some internet-related issues. We now let us know coming through. There might be some minor things with the last-minute kind of nature of trying to get this all fixed. Here, Brian, you are in sub-zero temperatures, it sounds like, and absolutely loving it down in Texas, while I am up in Canada in the warmer.
Ooh.
You're further south, I'm further north. I'm toasty, you're cold.
Yeah. No, my I have a mini split outside, and we got so much snow and freezing rain that the freezing rain slid into the mini split fan area. So like I can't even like turn on the mini split, otherwise it starts freaking out. So I have my little space heater here today, but I put on my winter hat and my jacket, and me on my I will say that for sure.
Nicely done. Well, the topic today is transparent overdrives, and basically, should we love them? Should we hate them? Is there even such a thing as transparent overdrives? And we're going to kind of get into it. So when someone comes, they want to build a pedal board, and they love the sound of transparent overdrives, and they like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when a customer you? What's your favorite transparent overdrive? How should I use it? Where should I put my signal chain? Like, is there anything that pops into your head when you hear the term transparent overdrives in this context?
Yeah, typically I ask them to describe to me what transparent is. Like, what is their definition of a transparent overdrive? Just because there's some people that will be like, "Oh, it's this or it's that or whatever." And of course, I would go automatically to like, and this is just my thing. It's like a Timmy or something, I guess you could say. It's what a lot of people will go with, but I honestly I stay away from that that word, like that whole like I feel like it's a hot word. Like people use that word like, oh yeah, I have turnover drives, and it's like, yeah, like what do you or not?
I I think it's a misleading term, personally. I think transparent overdrive really should be recoined to be
Yeah.
maintaining, and this is a horrible name. This is why, maybe this is why transparent is brass, but maintaining your amp's characteristics. You are trying to basically keep the thing that you love about your tube amp, assuming that you're using a tube amp and not a modeler for the sake of this example. You're trying to
Mhm.
maintain that without letting the overdrive change the core fundamental characteristic of that amp that you absolutely love. And so that's kind of where my head goes in transparent overdrives. Um, and I think we can kind of get a little bit too over the top in what we care about as far as these overdrives and lose the fact that we're actually here in the first place. Why do we actually have this overdrive in the first place? And so when I was thinking about this, preparing for this episode, I was trying to get my head around all of this stuff as well. Like, well, how would I define this if a customer asked me? It's one of those things that I know in my head, and then trying to put it into words is something else entirely. And so in my mind, and this will be interesting for us later, Brian, because there's a certain green overdrive that is absolutely not transparent that I love, and you are less emphatic about. You're less of a fan of. But with the transparent overdrive, I was going through scenarios in my head like, well, is a boost a transparent overdrive? Like just a boost that raises your signal or lowers your signal. Is that a transparent overdrive? And in my mind, it is not. But it doesn't change the signal of the guitar as such and change EQs and add mid humps and shelve lows, but it keeps it to it boosts the amp or boosts into the input of the amp. Whereas a transparent overdrive, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Brian, transparent overdrive has to clip your signal for it to be an overdrive, a transparent overdrive. So we have to have this aspect in there of it needs to clip your signal, change the gain structure, but ideally not change the fundamental tone of the signal feeding into that transparent overdrive. What are
Interesting.
your thoughts on that definition? Firstly, what would you change? And
Yeah.
then we can get into a little bit more on this. There's a lot to cover
Ugh.
here, but I was trying to go through the scenarios in my head of what actually is a transparent overdrive. How do we define it? And then we can talk about, is there a place for it on a board, or is it all hype?
Yeah, man, I think a lot of it is hype for the word. I think it's just one of those things that you can throw out the term. I remember working at the guitar shop, and I don't know guitar specs as well for a lot of this stuff. And we were super short-handed and like, hey, we need you to go sell this guitar. And I was like, hey, guys, I don't know specs on this guitar, any of these guitars. So you're making me walk into something blind that I don't know what to do. And he's like, just wing it. And I was like, oh gosh, okay. So I like go over and I'm like talking to this guy, and I'm like, yeah, it has uh, you know, a humbucker and single is which HSS has. I know what that is. Like I know HSS and whatever. It kind of depends on your flavor. And I kept saying like it kind of depends on your flavor. No idea. I had just no idea where to go with it. So I kept throwing that like, well, it kind of just feels like if it feels like to you, it feels like to you. And I feel like that's how people kind of get away. Excuse me. With like transparent is like they justify having 9 different overdrives on their board, and they're like, oh, well, 3 of them are transparent. I'm like, they're not truly transparent unless like they're not. I feel like transparent would mean it is not changing your tone at all. Like I could see
Ideally,
if it ideally, yeah, ideally like what's the I'm trying to think. What is it? So like when I do graphics and stuff, there's a transparent background remover setting that you can click to remove
very handy.
stuff. Very
Yep.
handy to do layovers and all that kind of stuff for videos. And that is truly transparent because you're getting, you're removing and only keeping a section, but it's not completely changing the photo. And the same thing could be applied to a guitar pedal, except in the fact that your transparent pedal is changing how your pedals react. Like you could say I have a Jackson Audio Prism right here. This is my transparent pedal, or I have a Keeley whatever, or like a Timmy, like a Timmy type pedal, whatever.
RC
An
booster. Yep.
RC booster, any of these pedals, you could say this is my transparent whatever. But as soon as you click it off, you hear a significant difference. So I wholeheartedly believe it is a buzzword. And a lot of people say it's a BS buzzword now. Hunter said, which I agree. I think it's one of those things that I just think it's easy for people to say it without justifying why it's there. And honestly, I like people like, oh, do you have any transparent overdrives? I'm like, nope, because they all do different things for your tone. So that's what I would say.
And I don't know the exact wording here, but there is always a relationship, like you were alluding to, that happens where, let's say you have a TS9, which is not a transparent overdrive. It adds mids, or it gives you a mid
Yep.
hump, which is what it's famous for, and shelves out lows and highs. And so that is something that is not transparent, but allows you to stick out in a mix. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I love it. But if you take that TS9 and run it into a transparent overdrive, there is a relationship, a shift that has happened. And now that transparent overdrive is going to do different things to what comes after it because of what you've done before. And so there's nothing that really happens on your board in isolation. Everything is kind of related. There's fingers in the same pie, as it were,
Yeah.
and the one thing affects another. And it's like if someone was to turn, I think this is how the saying goes, an overdrive on in the forest, but there's no amp plugged in to amplify it. Did a change really happen? And I'm going to say yes, a change did happen, and there is just too much going on here. The same thing is even within the same pedal. You have an EQ stack. So you have like RC booster. This is a example here. You have treble and you have bass on an RC booster. The RC booster uses a backsandal EQ, which is active and designed so that when you turn the treble, it doesn't affect what's going on in the bass. But in a passive EQ stack, like on most pedals, you turn up the treble it's actually going to affect what's happening in the lower frequencies as well, because these are interrelated. And the same thing is happening on your pedal board when you make these signal chain choices, turning this pedal on, this one off. What comes out at the amp end is more complex than just the one action that you did, turning off a pedal, turning on a transparent overdrive. And so that's where I think it's really hard to say this pedal is transparent, even in that aspect. In the context of a pedal board, that's a hard argument to make. And one of the guys was saying in the comments about the Klon, sorry, I'm struggling to keep up with the comments here, Hunter as well, but people call the Klon with an EQ change, which it does shift the EQ a bit, transparent. And I would agree. And if you even look it up online, like what's the Klon doing to your signal? Well, it's adding some girth is one of the things, sweetness, like it just sounds a little better, and therefore by definition it's not transparent. It's changing things, but it's still considered a transparent overdrive. So where does that leave us with transparent overdrives? And I think that's where it can be such a, firstly, a buzzword, like we're saying in the comments, but it can be misleading. And that's where I think you need to judge an overdrive on the merits of the overdrive. Try your best, which is hard to do. Try your best to leave the buzzwords behind and just ask yourself, do I like it better when it's on or not? And if you don't use it. And if you do, perfect. You got a great overdrive on your board, transparent, low gain, high gain, whatever it is. And I think that's kind of the tricky thing, is to leave some of the marketing behind and judge a pedal, judge a piece of gear based on the merits of that. And so, I think it sounds like, I don't know if you would agree, Brian, it sounds like we're on a similar page of transparent being unhelpful, let's say, in the context of a pedal board and choosing overdrives. But they still have a place, whether the naming convention is a little misleading or not. There's still a place for low gain overdrives that don't do a ton to your EQ. So when someone comes to you and they have this board and they do have a transparent overdrive, I think, is it EM drive? That one actually had like transparent written on the box. So someone has that. Let's say it's a super transparent drive, and they want to put that on their pedal board. What kind of conversation are you having with them as far as signal chain goes? Because I do love a transparent overdrive as well, because I love my guitar into my amp, and sometimes I want to enhance that a little bit. So what would you tell me as a budding guitarist? I am the next John Mayer, let's say. Where would you tell me to put this in my signal chain? And what kind of questions would you ask trying to figure out what works best for me?
Yeah, a lot of the times when I get this, I've actually had a couple people with the M drive. I used to have the M drive, I think a lot of people did. And it was a really great pedal. Same for like the I'll have to come back to the name of it. I actually bought it because you did a build with Jeffrey Cundy on it. This little green wonder or something like that. I think.
Oh, Mad Professor. Yeah, another Canadian company. Yep.
Yeah, like that.
Great pedal. That's a tube screamer though.
That is a tube screamer. I actually like that one, so that's really surprising. Yeah.
So maybe you do have a little soft spot in your heart for tube screamers.
A little spot. It just
has to be the right one.
It's just it's somewhere tucked away, but
very hidden.
I think like when someone comes and they're like, oh hey, like the first question I'm not asking them is how many transparent overdrives do you have, or how many transparent whatever. I'm not asking any of that. I'm asking, do you have a pedal list? Do you have a preferred signal chain? Do you need help with your signal chain? Sorry, I keep coughing because I'm choking on the cold air in here. It's like, it feels like it's 2 degrees, and I'm from Michigan, so doesn't feel that bad, but it's cold right now. So
there are icicles hanging from your. There's icicles hanging from your toque. My
children, they popped them off this morning. But I would say from like that standpoint, I'm always asking, like, what are you trying to accomplish with those pedals? And a lot of times when they have like a PBC 6X, or they have a Gig Rig G3 or an Atom or something, that question I still ask, but it's not as detrimental as where it is for the signal chain, as long as it's in the switcher. Because I can be like, hey, now you can move it in front or behind. You can mess with the different variations of where it is. If it's no switcher, or it's a quartermaster from gig rig, or it's a PBC 10 where you can't redo the order. A lot of times I'm like, hey, how are you running it? And a lot of people be like, oh, it's my always on transparent pedal. I'm like, okay, so where are you running it? Oh, I run it at the very beginning. Okay, so you're using it as a shaper for your input tone. And they're like, no, no, I'm using it to shape my whole tone. I'm like, well, if you're using it to shape your whole tone, it would be like after your overdrives or something like that, because that's shaping your overall tone. So whatever amp tones, whatever drive tones are going into it, and it's filtering it out and whatnot. So, and a lot of times it comes very quickly. We move it to the front of the chain, or that we put it in a switcher so they can mess with it. And I think that's a lot of times, well, people will be like, oh, I actually have never tried, my transparent overdrive before my drives versus after my drive. So a lot of times it's just asking them, what are you trying to accomplish? And some people are like, oh yeah, it's just because I'm like, okay, so it's just like a fun extra pedal. Like you have an extra pedal, an extra spot. That's kind of where you're at. But there's been plenty of guys. I've seen this with the Benson preamp pedal. I've seen this with the Benson preamp. I've seen this with the Jackson Audio, Prism, the RC booster. A lot of people are like, this is my always on transparent pedal. I'm like, okay, well, what exactly are you doing? And that's the same conversation we go down the line of trying to figure out what they're trying to accomplish. And it's always interesting too, because a lot of times you'll get guys who are like, oh yeah, I run my transparent overdrive and my compressor after my drives and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, not only is that transparent pedal shaping your tone, but now your compressor is shaping your tone. So it's one of those things that it's always ironic when someone like I have, because of this week with all the snow, I've gotten quite a bit of emails because I haven't been working the past couple of days because of all the ice. But like a lot of the people's message like, hey, I want to set up, I have 12 pedals. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, we got like 20 questions. Let's play the game 20 questions. I got 20 questions to ask you about your setup and what you're running and how you're running it. And I think just a lot of times it comes down to just kind of understanding what you're trying to accomplish. So that's my very long answer for such a short question, but that's kind of how I feel.
I know probably one of the most purposeful placements for transparent drive was when we'd done a couple boards for Nigel,
Yep.
and he would use an RC booster at the beginning of his chain, and he would typically leave it always on, and he would use it kind of as a input tone shaper type
Yeah.
thing, like what you're mentioning. And the RC booster is awesome. Really clean boost is the RC part. And with that active EQ that I was mentioning earlier, he would change both the volume and a little bit of the EQ per guitar. So if he was using something with single coils, he'd boost a little bit. Something with humbuckers, he'd cut a little bit. And he would know and mark off where the EQ would be and the volume would be for different guitars. And he only had a couple of settings, so it was very easy and quick to do. But I think that is one of those ones where you can purposefully use it as an always on, shape it for different guitars or different scenarios, even different amps, if you're A-Bing amps or anything like that. And you can kind of purposefully tweak the tone of that overdrive to suit your purpose. And one of the things I would always do, I would have a Klon based pedal, a Bondi Effect Sick As, which is in air quotes transparent. And I would turn it on, intending just to have a little, like the tiniest bit more grit in my signal and not much else, not much of an EQ change, all that. Didn't change the volume, didn't do any of that. And then I would turn it off when I was done with that section or I was done with whatever that song is like. It just doesn't sound as good. So whenever I turned it on, I always struggled to turn it back off because it add like searching in Google and all this, that sweetness. Like there's just this X factor to it that once it was on and I got used to that sound, it really sucked turning it back off again. It just, nothing ever sounded as good. And so I found this, and so it just became part of my core sound. I just left it on all the time because the core sound was better with that transparent overdrive on than off. And I couldn't, and I could not get the same core sound by tweaking my amp, preamp, EQ, mic placement. And I tried and I tried and I couldn't do it. And so it just became part of my amp sound was just this pedal stayed on all the time, and then I overdrove it from there with the TS9, and maybe another overdrive from time to time again. But that was, yeah, one of the areas where an always on transparent-ish overdrive really did it for me, and I could not recreate it without. And I think that's where, and that in that instance as well was early in my signal chain, very early in my signal chain. And I'd go back and forth between a sick as and an RC booster. They kind of lived in a similar kind of range or area. But yeah, I think they do have a good spot in my mind for building a core tone if you can't quite get there with just guitar and amp. And at that point, that was a Tele into an AC30 and a great core tone, but it was just better with an always on overdrive before it. And so I did my best to not do that, but I just got there. Are you using any on your boards, Brian? Or are you a more purist than I would be and going more guitar into amp or guitar? I guess you're using a modeler these days, aren't you?
I have a couple different boards. I'm awaiting a Quad Cortex Mini to arrive, but
Oh, nice.
yeah. But I mean, for right now, my current board is it's a rat's nest. I am taking a break from playing for a little while, just with the new year and the new baby and getting back into hockey. I've decided I'm going to take a couple months off from playing and just kind of get things back in order. So my board is completely taken apart. But in the 20 how old am I? Okay, I'm doing the math. So in the 20 years I've been playing, um I've never had more than one overdrive, a boost. I think that was it. I think I did two overdrives one time and I've never even touched the second one. It was like one of those things. Like I have the Carbon X from Brown
Hmm.
and I don't even use both sides. Like I literally don't even use both both sides of it. It's the same pedal in two and one. So it's always like I don't I you know I did the RC booster always on for such a while, but I was finding, and I like the comment someone says people. I think unknowingly people always like an overdrive and comms, always on OD and comms because they can plug into any amp and it will sound relatively the same. Makes the amp less of a variable in his opinion, which I think in a way, yes, I think that like, coming from here in DFW, when we moved from Michigan to Texas, we moved to go to Gateway Church 13 years ago, and I was playing eventually after a year or two. I was playing at different campuses, and they had Fenders or Jackson, Jackson Ampworks, or they had Voxes. They have all these different amps, and I was always having to tone tweak and adjust my knobs. I was never just like setting up the amp and really messing with the amp because I like the clean amp tone. Whereas I was finding the more I had like the RC booster or I had like an always on pedal, I felt like I could never find a happy spot with that. I found more happy like if I can get no overdrives, no boosts, no preamp pedals, nothing on. So like my go-to right now is a Jackson Audio Prism. Because I like how punchy it can get with my Falcon or my Duesenberg. It still sounds really good. But my overdrive I've been using, I had the daily driver for a while, but I sold that. And I think right now I have the Carbon X I've been using, but I think with everything off, if I can set a really good clean tone and I can get that really good sound, I click on my overdrive, it sounds good. It's like going stage by stage. It's like, okay, that all sounds good without being too harsh. I think the always on pedal just doesn't, it just changes how the pedals react to as if it was my guitar, the overdrive, the amp versus my guitar, the preamp or transparent pedal, my overdrive pedal or amp or transparent pedal after the overdrive. It's just going to change the tone, I think, too much for me to be happy with it because all amps sound different unless you're running the exact same setup. Like now, a lot of guys, and which is crazy, is coming when we moved here. They made you use the amps they had. Sometimes the boards they had, unless you had the board was approved by their team or whatever. But now guys are using quad cortexes, they're using fractals, they'll use the helix, like they're using all these modeler systems, and they're fantastic because of course the tech love it because they just plug in the XLRs and it's good to go, and they don't have to worry about turning on tube amps because the amp rooms get hot and maintenance on the amps and tubes. I get it. You have the space for it, do it, but it's it's that kind of consistency. I could understand you spending more time to shape your tone and stuff. I just don't have the time to do that. I don't have time to sit down and shape the tone and stuff. I mean, to be completely honest, with now our son is 3 months old. Like I forget to, I forget to eat breakfast sometimes. I forget to like. I wouldn't say take a shower. I take a shower every morning, but I think there's things like that where it's like I have other things in my life that I'm not worried about sitting down for 5 or 6 hours. And there's plenty of people that can do it, and you have the space and you have the time to do it. I just don't think with in-ear monitors putting something like that in my tone or in my signal chain is going to be helpful. If you find it helpful, that's fantastic. That's the great thing about this stuff. I just think from a new player standpoint, I mean, when I started playing, someone gave me an EQ pedal. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. So I just think it's just one of those things that it can just really confuse people for a lot of that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I still think it has its pros and cons, but I just think sometimes it just muddies up the water.
I would agree. And I think, yeah, you've kind of hit on it where you got to find the thing that works for you, which we've said many times before, and see what gets you closer to the sound that you're really after, and closer to the sound that inspires you to keep playing. There are some good questions here in the chat, and then I'll throw Brian to you for some ads here. But this one from Warlock, I think most people would get more use out of an EQ pedal and boosting the level to shape the sound, but that's not as sexy as a cool overdrive. I would agree. Playing devil's advocate though, in my instance, I tried EQs, I tried changing things on my amp, I tried mic placement, and I couldn't get it to sound the same as running an always on overdrive. And that could be a lack of skill on my part. That's probably the most likely scenario, but there's still the manufacturer of the guitar pedal has made choices along the way to shape EQ in small ways for a transparent one, but it's just hard to replicate. And I think so for me, I would say I would try that. I would try an EQ, I would try the boost and get as close as I could, and then I'd A/B it. And in my test, I couldn't quite get that same sound that really worked for me. But I do agree that people underuse EQs. EQs can be a great transparent boost, a great way to just do some minor shaping and finding what you like. It'll give you more understanding of what happens, especially with a graphic EQ. Like when I boost low mids, what does that actually translate to? And I think that's a great exercise to do, one that I would still benefit for, going further into as well. But absolutely, that's a great way to use an EQ. And then do you guys feel like, from Hunter, do you guys feel like transparent overdrives more because so for people using modelers, do you feel like people use this transparent drive more because in a modeler scenario, it adds a level of analog feel that they might be missing by using a modeler? What do you think, Brian? You've got a lot of experience with modelers. What do you think about that theory, using an analog overdrive to give more of that feel before the modeler input?
Man, I think it really depends on the modeler and how it's going to react to it, because there are plenty of pedals out there that I don't think do very well with handling like the response to how running that analog pedal into it. It's like running, and I'm going to be completely honest, it's like running my analog pedal into my Digitech RP50, and I bring this pedal up all the time because it's just one of those pedals. I've literally had it for 20 years, and it has built-in amp, it has a built-in cab and stuff. And how much better is my tone going to sound because I ran? It's like it's like running a $10,000 Klon into an RP50. Like, justifiably, I don't think it's going to make that pedal sound any better. I think it's still going to sound like a $5 pedal I bought on on Facebook Marketplace. Like I don't I think there are I don't want to sound rude. I think we convince ourselves sometimes that things sound better by like, oh yeah, I have to run all these external pedals. And it's like, man, have you A-B'd that pedal versus the one in the quad? Have you captured the pedal and A-B'd it? Like I was talking to someone about we did a tone consult a couple days ago, and that was a question. He's like, yeah, I really like this pedal on here. It's like I only like this one setting. It's like, have you thought about capturing it? No, I don't want to do that. Why? Well, I really like how it sounds. I'm like, okay, well, you can save some space and you don't have to go with a bigger board and you have external power and do all these extra things just to have this one pedal on there. You could capture it. And he came around to the idea, I think, but I think we landed on he's going to keep it on there. But I will say, I do think some modelers can take the pedals really well. Like, I was never a fan of the UA Dream and Ruby taking pedals very well. I personally just don't think it did. I thought the Boss IR2 was really well. I thought the ACS one from Walrus, the first version was okay. I know that they've updated and you can do different IRs now. The IRs make a huge difference in a lot of this stuff. So I think there is a good case if you listen, if you're gonna do 5 or 6 overdrives externally to a modeler, spend the extra money and get like a ML5 or ML10X or a MegX from one of these companies and have it hooked up MIDI so that the modeler controls it and turns his pedal.
Which is a true bypass strip.
Which
you
is
can,
like,
you can
yeah.
remove them from your signal chain. Yep.
Yeah, so it's like a MIDI true bypass strip. It's something that you don't have to step over, step on. Like you already have a modeler that's doing a lot of this stuff. Like if you're going to invest in having all these external pedals, you might as well invest in an external MIDI loop switcher or something like that. So I think there are some that are really good. Honestly, I think I've only ever played a Helix 1 or 2 times. Everyone raves about them. Obviously, they're doing great with the stadium and stuff. I think there's just a big part of like it really depends on the modeler.
100%. So you got to actually do your homework. You can't just take anyone's advice on it. You got to just try it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
no, for sure.
On that note, I'm going to throw it at you, Brian, and tell us about some of the sponsors that make this podcast possible, allow us to do this every week. Glitches and all, we are coming every week for you. So why don't you tell us about the sponsors that make the show possible?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first of our sponsors, and I'm posting it too in the comments, is going to be the guys over at the Guitar Sanctuary. They are buddies of mine. I will say that. I got the pleasure to work for them for 7 years, and they are top notch. The stuff that they have, the quality of the stuff they have, as well as whenever you order, if you order it same day by 3 p.m., it's going to go out that day. So like they're really, they take care of their instruments. If you're local to Texas, feel free to stop by. They would love to talk to you. Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6. They also have a music academy. If you are looking for lessons, you could get some lessons done from them. They definitely won't be disappointed to get a call. You can text them, message them on Podium, shoot them an email. They'd be happy to help you. Go check them out, guitarsanctuary.com. Next are going to be our guys over at Neural DSP. As if you've been under a rock, you might not have seen this, but they recently came out with the Quad Cortex Mini. So I know that they had the Nano or the Nano Cortex, which is a great little pedal. I see a lot of people use it. I just saw the actor who's from Stranger Things, Dojo, I think that's what his name is. The guy who plays Steve in Stranger Things. If you watch Stranger Things, we're rewatching this season right now, and he has them in his rack. I was talking with his tech. He has like 2 of them in a rack, in a redundant rack. Really basic for his acoustic stuff, as well as now the new Mini Cortex has come out, which if you think about it, it is literally the exact same as the big size one, just minus the extra foot switches. I did the preparation ahead of time, hearing that this was coming out from our rep Ryan, that I was able to fit 4 of them in a sliding rack tray. So any touring bands out there thinking about condensing their rack fly rig to something small, it is possible. You get the same flexibility, as well as you have the smaller IOs and stuff for the back and stuff, but stereo in, effects loop, XLR outs. You got the Quad Cortex app and everything, as well as more plugins to come. They got the full size one. Yes, it is $13.99, but you're still getting a full size Quad Cortex. You can fit it in your. You could. What are those things, Grant? That they like fanny pack that you slide it, like people wear them in Europe. Like they just like.
Oh,
hey,
the one that
it's like
goes
a-
over your shoulder. I
Yeah,
don't
is
know
it
what
like a
those are
fanny?
called. I'm not
They
cool
look-
enough to wear that, so
I'm
I
not
just
either.
I avoid it. Yeah,
They
I
look
just
the
pretend
ki-
it doesn't exist.
A lot of people here use fanny packs. I just was at Disney last week, and a lot of people had them to keep their stuff on them. You could slide one of those in a fanny pack. It's small. It's
Or
like
bum bag for those of you
or a
not in
bum bag.
America. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're also called bum bags.
yeah. It's like 4.6 by. I did the measurements earlier. It's nice and small. But yeah, man. Um, go check them out, Neural DSP. Use the code Chairmen for 30% off. You won't be disappointed. As well as that code works for all their plugins. So go check them out. Last are going to be the guys over at BTPA using the code Dead Chairs for 10% off. Any cabling, I'm looking at my cabling stuff right here. I got 2.1 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter DC connectors. I actually have some of the Evidence audio plugs. I don't know if they carry those, but they do carry SP square plugs, the XLRs, the pancakes, the straights, cabling, DC cable. I literally
Now, is there
I get
any?
this question probably 3 times a week.
What about like in terms of?
This is the cable, the power cable that I use, and this is it right here. It's nice and thin,
don't
and it
remember
works really well. Super isolated. Go
Okay.
use that code,
I
the
don't remember
chairs,
the
to
last time we were
save
selling
10% off.
cables.
You won't be disappointed. I'll throw it back to you, Grant.
Nice. So have you had? I'm curious. Have you had one of the Quad Cortex minis in hand?
No, I haven't, because
Okay.
I reached out to them and I was like, hey, can I get one? And they're like, we're really trying to keep this tight-lipped. And I was like, okay, I understand. You gotta send it to your YouTuber guys. So I am patiently awaiting. But it's the same as the full-size quad, so I don't expect there to be any difference. I just can't wait to see that small compact size. I actually have an RSW coming, the redundant switching system. It's like a single rack use switcher. I was talking with the guys. They're sending me one to mess with, and I've already talked to 3 different clients. Funny enough, is we just did their rack, and I was like, dude, you could fit 4 quad minis on this one tray
Oh yeah.
and do all your switching and stuff, and it'd be one case for everything. So I think it was really appealing to a lot of these bands and people that use it for desktop stuff. So yeah, it's I haven't gotten it yet, but I am anxiously awaiting.
It's a very cool. Yeah, it's a pretty cool release, and I'm very impressed with all the IOs on the back, because that's always my biggest thing with setups. And the request that we get is the more IO you got, the more hardware connections you have, effects loops, inputs, stereo outputs, all this, the easier it is to build and the more flexible you can be. And so it's cool to see what they've been able to fit in a relatively, with what comes with it, in a relatively small package. It's very cool. That's awesome. Okay, so transparent overdrives. Let's go into some of our favorites. And this could be favorites from ones that keep coming up on builds that you just see over and over again, favorites from ones you've tried. What would you say are kind of the standout 2 or 3 that you see quite often?
That'd be fun. It does. It has a story behind it.
That stand out.
Well, thanks for walking me through
I'll
that.
go off of what I would justify as a transparent. Thank you. Someone already said it. Lightspeed. I think the Lightspeed and the Timmy. I definitely think. I mean, Titus Crusher's already crushing it. Just saying, he's already.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just pipe down here and just let the comments handle this one.
Yeah. So I mean, Lightspeed, Timmy. I will say I actually miss my Lightspeed. I
It's a
get into
great
these
pedal.
pedal kicks. Yeah, the M Drive. Like I had that one years ago. I had the Lightspeed a while ago, but I think I sold it. Oh, I sold it to get my Anderson guitar, um, which is a great guitar, which I'm not even playing right now. So anyway, but yeah, I would say the Lightspeed, the Timmy. I don't know if I would consider the BD2. I mean, maybe that's just me. But would it be a would the Benson preamp really be?
Yeah, it's pretty
Could it be?
transparent.
Okay.
Yep.
See, someone just said the Chase Bliss preamp Mark II can be very transparent. I actually have one on a gig rig pedalboard back here. I haven't played that pedal in a while, but I remember when it first came out, and the flexibility of it was really cool. So on RC Booster, see, Titus Crusher is just crushing it with these. So he already said all mine. So
He actually said all mine too. I was looking at your list, Titus Crusher, and I was like, he hasn't said the RC booster yet. We've already mentioned it on the show, but you took it.
And he even said, he goes, but that's a booster. But I do agree, it is a booster, but I think in the right capacity, especially if you get like the Mark II version with the second foot switch, it has more gain on it. You could make it sound overdrive. Man, I've made a compressor sound like an overdrive before. Like,
yeah.
I think you could easily take an RC booster and make it sound more like gritty. I think it depends on what you have with it. Yeah. So I mean, I went as bold as I had 2 white RC boosters on a board set for different settings before. I will say that was probably one of my favorite setups I had.
I'm going to call fake news. I don't think you actually did that.
I had 2 RC boosters. I had 2 Mulholland overdrives, which those are clones.
Yeah.
And
those are part for part clones. So those are that is a clone down to the part. Yeah.
So I mean, I've had setups like that, but they were all, of course, the knobs were all set a little bit different and whatnot. And I think I used the 2 different ones because I had 2 different guitars. I just don't want to have to bend down and mess with it. So, but yeah, no, those are mine. What about you, Grant? If Titus Crusher hasn't already picked them out.
He's shut me up. I mean, I have nothing more to say. What am I supposed to do here? I think this is a good point, though, to the point of the RC booster being a boost. I think in this argument, any truly transparent overdrive is just a boost anyways. Like, you can turn up the gain and it should, in theory, mostly just change your volume, although it's not that clean and simple, but you could use just about anything as a boost in that regard by running it quite flat. And so the RC booster, I would use it to add a bit of grit, a tiny bit of gain, and kind of just set my sound like I was saying earlier. But I don't really have much more to say. I would say if someone asked me, what are your favorite transparent drives, the ones that show up the most, the ones that find the most useful, get the best feedback from, it would have to be clone, because most people can't afford a real clone, myself included, RC booster, and Timmy. Those are the 3 in my mind that stand out as being the ones that would be probably the ones I would recommend to go to first. The Timmy being one of my absolute favorites.
What about
you can use that one. Okay.
What about the Tim?
I've got thoughts. I've had both.
Because that loop in the back of it, you can put something else in it.
I know, but Brian, I'm going to say that you're falling into the gimmick here. And I did too, because I remember I got the Tim first, knowing the Timmy existed, but like, oh, it has more on it. There's more features. I got the Tim. I could never get it to sound as good as a Timmy. And that's my personal preference. I'm sure other people would be the opposite. But the Tim, it just, to use more buzzwords and be totally unhelpful here, the Tim just didn't have the same kind of life and vibrance. Is that a good way to put it? It just didn't do the same thing. And the Timmy, I put the Timmy in place. It's half the size. It just, I don't know, it just sounded better. And so when I had the Timmy on my board, I was instantly like, oh, the differences are subtle, but the Timmy just brings the sound to life a lot more than the Tim did for me, at least in my rig, I'll say that. And so, yes, Tim is a good call, but I'm going to say, please try the Timmy first if you have the option. Tim's still great, just not quite as good. Tim's a 9 out of 10. Timmy's a 10 out of 10. And the cool thing about the Timmy as well, if you didn't know this, the EQ on it is actually a cut rather than like it cuts from, so fully counterclockwise would be unity, and then you cut the EQ from there. And so you have to change your kind of approach when you're looking at that, and how you use it. But the Timmy is, man, beautiful, beautiful pedal. Big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, going off of the question, give us. Yeah, I don't, you know, I think I'm in the same boat. I'm more of a Benson preamp, RC booster, or I don't even have a third, or Jackson Prism. And those are all kind of in a way can be boosters, except the preamp. I mean, I don't use a transparent type overdrive the same. I think mine's just very different on how I would do it. I do like the question. It says, give us the pedals you guys think get called transparent most unjustifiably. This could be an episode in itself. I think there's a lot of stuff out there. I've had people like, oh, the JHS at the Andy Timmons, that's a transparent overdrive. Like I just think there's stuff like that. There's higher gains, and someone made a comment really early on where they had said that a lot of people say that a transparent pedal is transparent is because it's slightly shaping their tone or it's making it clearer. And to that, I would say you have a glorified EQ pedal because that's what you're doing. Like the amount of times I fought over, oh my gosh, different overdrives, just everything to find that right, or boost pedal too, to find that right clean boost pedal that that boosted my signal without dirtying it up. And all the while, all I needed to do was buy like a 10-band MXR or a 6-band MXR.
A GE7.
GE7,
Yep.
one of these, an EQ2, buy one of those things. And I was like, oh my gosh, why have I wasted 20 years? I mean, I had a 10-band EQ MXR on my first board with a big old zip tie around it because that's just I didn't know.
That's the way they did it back in the old days.
I didn't know. Yeah,
back in the good old days.
Back in the old days. My kids call me ancient now. This is because I'm turning 33, so I don't quite understand why they call me ancient.
It's a holy age.
I guess because I was born in the 90s, so I guess that's ancient. And but it's one of those like I just didn't know what I was utilizing at the time. So now that I have been playing, it just makes a little more sense. It's like if you're getting an overdrive to do your boost or do your shaping and you turn the gain all the way down, you don't need an overdrive or transparent overdrive. So I'm looking through the questions. I saw one that I didn't want to miss it. Not related to transparent overdrives. Have you tried the Paul C Zelfram? No, I have not tried the Zelfram. I will say there are some like underrated. Someone even asked about it, like an underrated. What is this? What is your favorite underrated transparent drive? Partial to the way huge saucy box overdrive. I would say, man, like underrated pedals. There's underrated and there's overrated. I think an underrated one has to be that Mad Professor, that Little Green
Wonder. Not that's transparent though.
It's not. When it can. No. Okay, so what is it? A medium?
It's tube screamer.
Oh,
it's a tube screamer in a different enclosure. So it has a big mid hump. So as soon as you turn it on, you'll stick out in a mix, which is what tube screamers are known for. You'll overtake everyone else, which is where the guitar should live. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, I mean, this is what we fundamentally believe.
Yeah,
the guitar should be front of the mix. And so that's tube screamer is one way to get there. You don't get there necessarily with a transparent overdrive. You have to shift your EQ a bit to really stand out in a mix, and that's where the EQs are so tricky in the sense of I want to stand out in a mix. You'd usually think, well, high mids, I'll boost those, but oftentimes you can cut other frequencies and make room for yourself in a mix without muddying it up. And so the EQ allows you to learn some of this and learn some of the kind of backwards approaches to standing out in a mix and shifting your sound and all this. But all that to say, underrated ones. I feel like I don't have enough experience here. It sounds like you got something to say here, Brian.
No, I was just saying I take back the whole underrated too. But yes, Mason, I do love the Mad Professor Tube Screamer. I do love it. He even asked about it. I feel like the same. I think, like, I'm gonna bring it back. I think how we categorize what is a transparent or what it's doing to your tone is super subjective. I think for a lot of this stuff, I think, an underrated one, you could easily say, like, I do think like the Prism is really great. I do think the RC in the context of how to utilize it could be really well. But I know it's on a lot of people's boards, especially a lot of Nashville boards it could be on.
Rightfully
And
so.
rightfully so, especially with the GE7 and the Klon and all those guys. So I don't know. I think there's I think there's a lot. The OSIS, I think the ODR one is one that people call transparent, but it isn't. It's very fizzy for me. I agree. I agree. I think we found our fourth chairman at this point on Titus Crusher, crushing it today. I agree with you on that about the ODR one. I think it's a great pedal. I think for the context of which it's going to be utilized, it's good for some applications. I think it's not great for every application, as well as not every guitar. I think that's why you'll see, like, I stick with the same, I have a White Falcon, I have a Duesenberg, I have my Anderson Raven. Like, those are the three, and they're all humbucker based. The Raven does have a single coil, but I think it's finding those pedals that work well for you with those pickups, because I've fought back and forth on this kind of stuff. The Full Tone GT500 has a clear drive side. I think the Full Tone Full Drive 2 is a great one. I think that's another one that people like I've had in the past. So I think it's all just kind of comes down to not getting caught up on the buzzword of it being transparent and more being, is it doing what you want? Because if you have to justify it as transparent, I don't think it's transparent. And I guess I don't know that the Little Green Wonder was not transparent. So I do.
So now you're gonna hate it, right? You're just gonna turn it on like, oh, it's garbage, absolute garbage.
I already hate it. It's dead to me. I already wrote it on my wrist, like on my notepad, like Ryan did when someone wronged him in the office. So it's already on that list.
And it never comes off that list once it's there. Never, so sorry, Mad Professor. I love it, by the way. But yeah, I would say as we finish up here, one kind of final note, which I think is in the subtext of what we're saying, is the term transparent is what it is. It's in our industry. It's not going anywhere. But I would say it's not better or worse than an overdrive that colors your tone. It is just an option that's out there. And it's your job to find out what works for you. We can't tell you. You can't tell someone else. You just got to follow your ears and see what you like. And I love overdrives that color my sound just as much as I love overdrives that enhance my guitar amp fundamental sound as well. The RC Booster and Tube Screamer, in my mind, neither one is better or worse than the other. They both have their place on my board for different reasons. And so happy experimenting is what I would say as we close out the show, because that is the only way you are going to find what you like, is by doing the work yourself. And it's a great excuse to play more guitar. So as you're experimenting, enjoy. And I hope you guys really, really love it. And let us know what you find. And on the Facebook group, I should also say we have a Facebook group at Chairmen of the Boards. And let us know what you find there, what your favorite transparent drives are. If you want to be pointed in the right direction, Brian can recommend the Mad Professor Little Green Wonder there as well. And I'm just as shocked as you are. I'm just as shocked. Brian, any closing words to finish us off?
I don't. Tone to Town asked about opinions on the RJM Microline mixer. Hey, post this question in the Facebook page, and we would love to talk to you about it. I think there's a lot of people that have different experiments with it and stuff, so definitely get on the
It's a good product.
Yeah, it's a great product. We'll just sum it up there. But not send a message, put it in the Facebook thing, and we can all chat about that then too. But that's it for me.
As one note there before we finish on that note, there's a lot to consider when you go parallel, which is what the line mixer is for. So don't rush into that decision. I would absolutely do what Brian's saying. Go in the Facebook group. We can chat about it there, because you don't want to go down a rabbit hole you later regret. But you can do it well and love it if you know what you're getting into. Sorry, Brian, finish us off.
That was it. I was going to just say literally that. I was like, I think there's a spot of going down the rabbit hole until you get in there and it goes 18 different directions. So I think you just want to make sure. Yeah. So just reach out and we would love to all chat, as well as people in the community will chime in with what they've done, and we'll go from there. But that's it for me.
See you guys.
All right. Bye, guys.